This is a rare dollar bill. It has traveled over 3 million miles through space in the Gemini 5 capsule. It's autographed by astronaut Gordon Cooper, astronaut Charles Conrad, and Walter Wentz. What is your name, please?
My name is Walter Wentz.
My name is Walter Wentz.
My name is Walter Wentz.
Only one of these gentlemen is the real Walter Wentz. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Peggy Cass, Orson Bean, and Kitty Carlisle on To Tell the Truth. To Tell the Truth is brought to you this evening by a dependable new spray to get your oven clean by the makers of famous Easy Off Oven Cleaner. And now, here's your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much. Welcome once again to Tell the Truth. Good evening, panel.
Good evening, Bud.
Ah, that's the group I like to spend my time with, believe me.
Well, you do.
I sure do. You're so right, and happily, too. All right, open up the envelope, if you will, and follow along with your copies of this first story. I, Walter Wentz, am a representative of the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. The Federation boasts 54 member nations, including the Soviet Union. The sole function of the FAI is to certify all airspeed and air endurance records established throughout the world. My most recent assignment was to authenticate the 120-orbit Gemini 5 flight of astronauts Cooper and Conrad. I went to Cape Kennedy to witness the launch and to make sure that each astronaut took with him a dollar bill, the serial number of which I had recorded. 8 days later, I was on the carrier Lake Champlain, and when Gordon Cooper and Charles Conrad came aboard, they personally gave me those same dollar bills. The serial numbers checked. Then and only then was the Cooper and Conrad orbital journey officially certified by the FAI as the world's longest manned space flight. Signed, Walter Wentz. Panel, these three gentlemen, as you heard, all claim to be Walter Wentz. We'll start the questioning with Tom Poston. Tom?
Thank you, Bud. Number two, who authorizes this FAI?
That's a historical question I can't answer.
What do you mean?
It's been authorized, or that is, it has been functioning since the turn of the century.
Oh, under whose auspices, number three?
It is a private organization that was organized in 1903 for the purposes of testifying to speed, altitude, and endurance records of aviation. That was the initial purpose.
Thank you. Was the, number one, was there airplane in 1903?
No, there were balloons.
Ah, balloons, and that's what started it.
That's what started.
Number one, how many dollar bills did they take? In other words, did you personally get a souvenir out of this?
I hope to. I gave one to each of them.
Only one, so it'll have to go in the files with the FAI, right?
One of them at least will.
Oh, one of them. Number two...
Peggy Cass.
Thank you. Number three, were you there when the Russians landed off their space flight?
No, I was not.
But did they carry a little ruble with them or something so you could...
Supposedly they did. The Soviets themselves testified to that.
Oh, but number two, nobody from your organization was there.
Somebody from the FAI was there, yes, but they were Russian.
Oh, I wanted to know if they came down on the ground and everything. Number one, for instance, what did the lady astronaut carry?
I'm not aware of that at all.
Oh, well, number two, is it usually money that you give them to make sure?
No, not necessarily.
Oh, well, number three, do you do this because you're suspicious that they come down in the dead of night, get a night's sleep, and shoot up again?
Well, it is to verify that it is a numbered instrument that cannot be duplicated readily.
Thank you. Well, number one, how do you check the speed? It says you check the speed. How can you check the speed when they're way up there?
Well, we use all of the test parameters after the test, and we check them over, as well as known time.
Known time, thank you.
Orson B.
Number three, who pays for all this? Whose services to whom are you rendering services?
Well, all the people, the referees involved in this are voluntary. we are only compensated for our expenses.
Yes.
The manufacturers sometimes underwrite portions of the cost involved, such as transportation, etc.
All right. That's more than I wanted to know, number 3. Number 2, what endurance record did the Hindenburg break? Do you know what the Hindenburg was?
It did not hold an endurance record.
Ah. Number 1, what is the Graf Zeppelin?
Well, the Graf Zeppelin was a form of dirigible.
Uh-huh. All right.
One of a family.
All right. Number 1, what did Alcock and Brown do?
I don't know.
Well, they must have been checked by you fellas. Do you know number 2?
No, I don't.
Number 3, did you ever hear of them?
I'm afraid not, sir.
Even if it ain't you, you should know that. I know that, and I ain't you.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 1, do you know who Jacques Arlas is?
I believe he was a parachutist or balloonist.
Number 2, do you, how many of these things have you authenticated?
Personally?
Yes.
3.
Only 3. What would happen if there was nobody there to authenticate it? Wouldn't everybody believe that they went up and did it and came down again?
You're still addressed?
No, number 3.
I'm sorry. You must have some form of attesting, either by a number system or documentation.
How many of you, number 1, who do this?
We have a pool of about 37 in the United States.
And you go everywhere and do this?
Not all of us, no.
Have you ever, you didn't see the magnificent men in their flying machines, number 2, did you?
No, I didn't.
Was that a real race? Or you didn't see it?
I saw it, Kitty. Ask me.
Was it a real race?
No, it was just part of a movie, don't you know?
That's all we have time for. Time for you to land your flying machine and vote. So mark your ballots immediately without any consultation and without change once you have marked. Mark swiftly, completely, and accurately, and vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3. Team of challengers, of course, will receive $250 for every incorrect vote. Are all ballots marked? All right, Tom, for whom did you vote?
Well, I would have voted for Orson if I could have spelled. I thought he knew more about this. I voted for number 2 on the off chance that since he's only witnessed 3 of these things, that he's new to the organization and therefore doesn't know too much about it.
Peggy Cass.
Well, I voted for number 2. I thought he was sort of, well, a little irascible, as if, well, what are you asking me this stuff for? You ought to know it anyway.
Orson Bean.
I'm not sure who I voted for. I had my eyes closed. Number 3. I voted for number 3 because I figured that it's 1/3 of a chance I'm right. I don't know.
Who is Alcock and Brown?
Alcock and Brown flew the Atlantic Ocean
That's right.
prior to Lindbergh and were the first ones, and you guys should know that. You should be ashamed
that
of
old.
That's true. I'm sorry.
Kitty Carlisle.
I voted for number 3 because he kept insisting that they had to have serial numbers in order to authenticate the flight, and that's what they work on, so I voted for him.
Well, there we are, evenly split. Okay, the votes are in, the minds are made up. Let's find out now which one of these gentlemen, in truth, is Walter Wentz. Will the real Walter Wentz please stand up? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Quite an exciting thing to have been any part of that flight, I must say.
Was it ever?
Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Robert Roseanne, and I'm a partner in the New York law firm of Roseanne and Roseanne.
Which one are you, Roseanne or Roseanne? Number 3, what is your real name and what do you do, sir?
I'm Peter Gutman. I'm a field underwriter with the Home Life Insurance Company of New York.
Well, in checking the score, we find it an even split, as I remarked before. So there were 2 right and 2 wrong, and the 2 wrong votes, the 2 incorrect ones, are worth $250 each. Total, therefore, $500 to divide, gentlemen, and we thank you very much for sharing your evening with us. Good night, and God bless you. Now let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Jane Stepp. My name is Jane Stepp. My name is Jane Stepp.
Follow along with your copies of this story, if you will, please, panel.
Oh.
I, Jane Stepp, am a girl doing a man's job. Using the professional name of Coach Friday, I appear on a television sports program. My job each week is to forecast the results of the 10 top college football games in the nation. I pick the winners in competition with various guest sports experts who appear with me on the program. I have been forecasting the results of football games for the past 2 years, and despite my limited knowledge of the technical aspects of the game, I have been correct 75% of the time. A far better forecasting average than many of the country's top sports writers. Last year, as a gag, one college offered me a football uniform and a chance to work out with the team. I accepted the invitation, and as a result, I am now honorary coach of Slippery Rock State College. Signed, Jane Stepp. These three young ladies all claim to be Jane Stepp. Let's start the cross-examination with Orson Bean. Orson?
Thank you. Miss Step number 2, does that say coach on your sweater? I've been trying to make it out.
Yes.
It does? All right. Tell me... I couldn't quite... number 1, tell me about Slippery Rock State. Where is this good university?
This is 50 miles north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and it's a state college, is it?
Yes.
How big is it?
Well, it's about 2,000.
Now, in your position as honorary coach, do you tell the boys what to do, or what do you do?
Well, I visited them last year. I didn't actually tell them what to do.
But they told you? All right, number 3. Now, are you really an expert, or is it something like Carol reading the weather? Do you read off a teletype, or...
No, I'm not an expert on it. I check the statistics, and then I use my own intuition.
Oh, I bet you haven't.
Kitty Carlisle.
Number 2, I'm delighted to meet all of you because my lack of knowledge on football is encyclopedic. And I want to know, is it possible for somebody like me to do this?
Yes, I didn't know very much about it before I
How did you learn?
Just with books and things.
You studied.
Uh-huh.
Number 3, was your interest very vast in sports before you started doing this?
Oh, yes, I always loved sports.
Number 1. Number 1, is Slippery Rock a teacher's college?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Number 2, when you, how come you get such marvelous scores with your intuition? Do you ever feel the days that you suddenly don't feel you're going to get through at all?
Yes, I usually do best on those days.
Tom Poston.
Thank you. Number 1, where are you from? Where are you
I'm from Roanoke, Virginia, station WDBJ.
Number 2, where are you?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Number 3, please.
Miami, Florida.
I see. None of you are that close from Slippery Rock, so I wonder why they chose.
Might be other Slippery Rock.
Yeah. Number 2, who's Cosmo Yakavazi?
I don't know.
Do you know number 1?
No, I don't.
Number 3?
I played at Princeton.
Listen, number 3, how did you get started in this, nice girl like... No, how did you get... Number 3, how did you get started in this?
Well, it stemmed from an interest evolved, when I was in college, and all the good guys played football.
And you...
Interest in men. Peggy Cat.
Number 3, where's your station?
Miami, Florida.
I see. Number 2, when you predict these, the outcomes of these games, you give the point spread, too?
Yes.
Okay, number 3, who do you think is going to wind up in the Rose Bowl this year? Number 3, honey?
Nebraska and Texas, maybe. Well, they'll play in a continent. I'll pick Texas.
All right. Number 1, who do you think is going to win the Harvard-Yale game? Why don't you pay any attention to those?
I think Yale will win.
You do?
Yes.
By how many points, number 1?
Well, I haven't studied it that far. I wouldn't like to say that.
You sound partisan. Did you go to Harvard, Peggy?
Sort of.
That's all we have time.
Oh, no, did Orson question... Oh,
We have no further time. I'm sorry for questions. Just mark your ballots on the basis of what you have found out. Mark them at once, without change, without any consultation at all. Just vote now for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All ballots marked. Very well. Tom, for whom did you vote?
I did, finally, just as you said that. So, well, I picked number 2. I don't know. It seems so unlikely that she would be so right, So, I just had to take the kind of guess, I guess, that she does every week. So I took number 2.
Peggy.
Well, I voted for number 3 because, well, she knew that fella Cosmo Yakahoo, whatever that was.
He was a sensational fullback for Princeton.
Orson Bean.
Cosmo Yako. Can't take you anywhere. I voted for number 3, too. I don't know. I never heard of Cosmo Yako hoo-hoo, but she looked like she was right when she said it.
Kitty Carlisle.
Oh, dear, I voted for number 1. She seemed like the kind of girl who would really sit down and study these scores and come up with the right answers.
Well, that's about as widely split as 4 persons can do with 3 places, so let's find out now which of these 3 young ladies, in truth, is Jane Stepp. Will the real Jane Stepp please stand up? Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you.
I'm glad it was her, Bud.
Beg pardon?
I'm glad it was her, because the winner has to stand up.
Yeah. Incidentally, Jane Stepp is Coach Friday for television station WAGA, which, of course, is our CBS affiliate in Atlanta, Georgia. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Betty Lynn Fredrickson, and I'm a hostess for the Coca-Cola Company.
And number 3, what is your real name and what do you do?
My name is Barbara Shan, and I do publicity for the Pavilion of Spain at the World Fair.
Well, we checked the score to find that you ladies did a good job on this panel. There were 3 incorrect votes. That's 3 times $250, total $750. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. Hope you had as good a time as we did. Good night, and God bless you. Third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Mary Lou Culbertson.
My name is Mary Lou Culbertson.
My name is Mary Lou Culbertson.
Very well, panel, open up your envelope again and follow along with this story. I, Mary Lou Culbertson, make my living out of murder. Not committing it, writing about it. Working as a freelance crime reporter, I sell my true fact stories to Sunday newspaper supplements and to national magazines such as Startling Detective and True Police Cases. Whenever possible, I put on my trench coat, grab my camera, and visit the scene of the crime in person to take pictures and interview as many of the principals as I can corner. Up to now, I have covered well over 100 murders. Not bad for a grandmother whose lifelong hobbies have been knitting and growing African violets. Signed, Mary Lou Culbertson. The ladies all claim to be Mary Lou Culbertson, as you heard, and would start with Peggy Cass. Peggy?
Thank you. Number 1, where do you live?
I live in Hartford, Connecticut.
Thank you. Number 3, how do you know the murder's taken place? Do the cops call you up and say, hey, honey, we just had a swell murder?
Well, I have a very special friend on the police department. You have to get friendly with the police department, and they notify you.
Oh, well, number 2, you don't have to have a do you have a press pass and stuff like that?
Yes.
I see. Number 3, who was Ruth Snyder?
She was a murderess.
Thank you. Do you know who she committed her murder with, number 3?
No, I don't.
Oh, number 1, who was Winnie Ruth Judd? I think that's the name of it.
Well, she was a famous murderess.
But did she have an accomplice in her murder?
No, I think she did them all herself.
Oh, nifty. Number 2, what's the most horrible murder?
Orson Bean.
Ever committed. Number 2. Wait a minute. Now, number 2, often in the back of Startling Detective magazine, squeezed in among the raised mushrooms for fun and profit ads, are little things that say, learn how to write. Send us samples of your writing. Did you send one of those in, number 2? Is that how you began?
No.
You were just found that your hand was moving, right? I mean, how did you start writing?
I was a newspaper reporter, general assignment reporter, and I had a leaning toward crime.
Ah, why was this, number 2?
Right after I started, I used to sneak over in the courtrooms to find out.
All right. Number 1, what did Ruth Snyder commit the murder with? Number 1, I meant to say.
I believe that she used an axe.
All right. Number 3, what's the most gruesome murder? Kids, turn away from the set. I want you in your own words, number 3, to tell us what's the worst thing you ever covered. You can leave out some of the gorier details.
Well, I believe the worst thing was a murder where the father killed the entire family. And then he kept inquiring about them all over the neighborhood, and they found the family cemented in the basement.
I'm sorry I asked, number 3.
I'm amazed you didn't say that's cute. Kitty.
Number 2, do you have a friend on the police force, too?
Several.
Where do you live?
Greenville, South Carolina.
Number 1, have you ever helped to solve any of these murders?
No, I never felt that it was my duty to do that.
You just report them and write up the story?
It's a fact.
You follow through?
Yes.
Number 3, what gruesome murder was committed by a lady in Fall River? With an axe. Number 2, do you know?
I don't know.
Number 1?
No, I don't.
I know, Kitty.
Number 2, who was the pig woman?
Oh,
Number 1, do you know?
I can't remember, but there was one, I know.
Tom Poston.
Number 2, did Winnie Ruth Judd work alone?
I think she did.
Number 3, you started to answer Kitty's question about the Fall River murders. Who was that? Do you remember now?
No, I think there was a poem written about it, but I don't remember who it was.
I see. Now, number 1, I'll ask. Is it true that unpleasant murders sell better than, say, nice, clean, clear-cut murders where...
Well, I think so. I think people like details.
Decapitation, too. Number 2, tell me, what would you do, for instance, if you had a murder case that was just clean, clear-cut, nice, everybody, would it sell?
Sometimes, but not so well.
That's it. Time for you now to take all the gory details, pull them all together, and mark your ballots. So mark them at once, if you will, without change, without any consultation whatsoever. Just vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3. Have you marked your ballots?
No, I can't. These girls all look like murder right now. I can't really tell.
Mark away, Tom. We haven't too much time. All right, for whom?
Right, I'll just... Because I had a guess. I didn't know that... Anyway, I voted for number 1.
Peggy Cat.
Well, a guy named Judd Gray helped one of those girls kill people, but I voted for number 2, although, gee, how come you have so many murders in a little place like Greenville?
No more questions. Orson B.
Well, Ruth Snyder used a sash. It was a terrible thing, but that's why it's called the Ruth Snyder sash murder. A big, long... I don't... Anyway, I voted for number 2.
Kitty, which one do you think is the real one?
I voted for number 2. I'm surprised that none of these ladies knew Lizzie Borden, who lived in Fall River, but never mind. I voted for number 2.
That's it, then. The votes are all in, and the minds are made up. You heard them, and let's see how they stack up as we learn which of these 3 ladies, in truth, is Mary Lou Culbertson. Will the real Mary Lou Culbertson please stand up? Very well on that one. Thank you very much, Miss Culbertson. Number 1, what is your real name and what do you really do?
I'm Rita Ford, and I have a shop in Manhattan. I buy, sell, and repair antique music boxes.
And number 3, what is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Selma Jean Harmon, and I'm international president of an organization of former air hostesses.
And it's very interesting to note that Mrs. Harmon was the very first TWA hostess. The very first one. Well, we checked the score, ladies, to find that the panel got a little wiser and smarter this time. I guess the experience of the first 2 wised them up. In any event, there were 3 correct votes and only 1 incorrect, but that's still worth $250 to you, and we thank you for joining us. Good night, and God bless you. Thank you for another nice evening, panel.
Good night, Bud. Good night, Bud.
And don't forget to join us the same time next week, and be sure to watch the daytime version of To Tell the Truth and see some celebrities try to stump our very smart panel. And also, in the meantime, don't you forget to tell the truth. Bye.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Cotman production.
Plan to eavesdrop on the fun when host Steve Allen greets Fred Gwynn, star of The Monsters, and I've Got a Secret, next on the CBS Television Network.
To Tell the Truth has been brought to you by Woolite Cold Water Wash. Safely soak sweaters clean in minutes without stretching or shrinking. For wool, synthetics, all fine washables, Woolite. This is Johnny Olson speaking for To Tell the Truth. The program was pre-recorded.